Hey, welcome to month one of the Quilty Chicks Quilt Along. We have so much to do this month. I can't wait to get started and I'm going to walk you through it. First, there are two options for things that you can do this month. There's option one, which is I've just started the new year. I'm starting this quilt. I'm so excited. I want to do all the things. I am fired. List of things to do. And then there's the holy moly, I am hungover mentally from all things Christmas. I need to ease back into life. And this is a slightly shorter list. It means you'll do a little bit more in later months, but it's just fine. It gets us where we need to go. First, I'm going to walk you through the pattern, talk about what we need to cut, how to label pieces, and then we'll go over sewing stuff. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. All right, the most time-intensive thing we're going to do this month is cutting. We've got a lot of background fabric to cut and a lot of chicken pieces to cut. If you are feeling up to it and are raring to go, cut out the chick pieces and the chicken pieces. Chickens. Be sure to label these. You're going to want to label the chick ones, chick, with the measurement, and you can pin them together, or you can use these little clips to clip them together. Either one works. The clips work best when you have a large stack of fabric that's hard to pin. When you're done cutting out the chick pieces, gather them all together, put them in a baggie, put them to the side. We'll use those in August to make the little baby chicks. Continue and cut out all of the other pieces and label them with the dimensions. This is key to keeping everything organized. If you're feeling like less is more here in January, ignore the chick pieces. Don't worry about those. You can cut them out later. Just cut out the chicken pieces right here. The yardage is based on following this diagram, more or less. There's room for errors. There's room for doing things a little bit differently, but don't get super creative. Stick to this. There's room here, like you could move those there and cut them out of there, or cut some of these little babies out of these extra pieces. That's okay, but kind of stick to this and you'll get them all out. Label, and then put them aside. Then we're going to cut out all of the comb and wings and leg pieces. Label them, the pieces, both with the dimension and what comb they are. That will help you down the road be able to figure out what pieces you need for what chickens. Here's a cutting gram for the chicken wings, chicken legs, and beaks. Again, you can label your pieces both with the measurement and for what the chicken body part is, and it'll help you be able to identify them later on. If you follow these cutting instructions, if you're really, really careful, you can get it out of a fat eighth, but it's pretty tight. So I would suggest a fat quarter, and you can use this extra for some of your interior chicken blocks, or I used it for some of the flowers, the orange flowers. Once you've done all of that, going to cut out the chicken pieces. This is for the chicken back, the chicken front, the chicken tail, all of those body pieces that are not the interior quilt block. So back here we have directions for making that interior quilt block. Right here, we're cutting out all the pieces that aren't that quilt block. So you'll cut out these same pieces from each of the 7 fat quarters. If you want, you can just cut out 1 fat quarter worth of chicken body parts today. That is fine. But it is going to save you time if you cut multiple fat quarters for the chicken body all at once. I'll show you what I mean. Let's pretend these are my fat quarters. They're not quite the right size. Demonstration purposes only, but line up the edges. You can line them up. You can stack them 4 deep, and then you can go ahead and just cut out your pieces as you need. I like to store all of the squares that are the same size together. I don't divide them out by chicken. I keep all of the 3-inch squares together, all of the 3 by 11 rectangles together, all the 3 by 8.5 rectangles together, and I again label them with the size, pin them together. And you're going to repeat this cutting with another stack of 3. And I take that stack of 3, boom, stack it with this, and I've got all my 3-inch pieces for my chicken that I need. And I can easily go through and pick out, you know, the gray ones or the blue ones, whatever colors. It's easy to see, and I don't have to have as many individual little blocks. I would highly recommend cutting out all the body parts today, because really it'll feel like you're cutting out 2 chickens, but you'll have all of the body parts cut out for the whole quilt. If you don't feel up to it, that's okay. You can do it next month. Just cut out what you'll need for the month 1 body parts. When you're thinking about which fat quarter you're going to cut out, always you can flip back and look at the month 1 chicken. It's going to be the one with the heart. So pick a chicken fabric that will go well with whatever heart fabric you've chosen. All right, I would just skip cutting out the chick parts for this month. We've got enough other stuff to deal with. So once we've cut out everything and labeled it, it's time to move on to making the combs. You can make a comb a month and make them in sets of 2, or you can make them all at once, which is going to be in the long run a lot faster. Now, before we get started, just want to review. Each chicken has a right facing and a left facing option. So the combs are going to have right and left facing options. The beaks are going to have right and left facing options. The feet are going to have right and left facing options. This means that we have to pay attention to the diagrams and double check how everything is laid out before you sew it together. I would recommend making the comb 1 units this month, because that's the unit you're going to need for your heart chicken. And then worry about making the comb 2 units and the comb 3 units later on. When you make the comb 1 units, that will give you the combs that you'll need for chicken 1 and chicken 2. So January and February, you'll be golden. We're going to make just a bunch of half square triangles, trim them, sew them together, make sure you pay attention to the orientation, and then sew these little spacing strips onto the top and sides. Once you've made your combs, you'll make two left facing and 2 right facing. We're going to skip comb 2 and comb 3 and come to make the beak and wattle units. Chicken 1 and 2 don't have the wattle, the little red part that hangs beneath the beak of a chicken. So I would just skip that. If you are on a roll, go ahead and make them all. It'll save you time in the long run, but really it's not going to be make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things. So make the beaks, just make all of them, make all 14 of them. You're going to make 7 left facing, 7 right facing. We're going to be using a lot of stitch and flip sewing in this quilt. With stitch and flip, you mark a line from corner to corner on one of the fabrics. You place that fabric right sides together. In this case, right sides together, the beak fabric with the background fabric, and then you sew along the marked line. Then you trim the corner off about a 1/4 inch away from the edge. This does not have to be exact. It needs to be at least 1/4 of an inch, but if it's slightly over, that's fine too. I really like to just use my scissors to just rough cut that edge off. It's a lot faster than having to line up my rotary cutter and mat and ruler and trimming them off like that. So scissor it off. And then we're going to put together the beak and wattle units. If you're on a roll and want to make all of the beak and wattle units for chickens 3 through 7, follow the instructions in 1 and 2 and sew those units together. If you just want to worry about chicken 1 for now, solid option. Just follow the instructions in step 3 and make the beak only units. You're going to make 2 each. Just again, pay attention to the orientation. Pay attention to which way those are facing. Pay attention to which way these lines are oriented when you're sewing, and how many of each you need to sew. We've got our combs ready, our beaks ready. Now we're going to get the body parts ready. Oh no, we are not. We are going to make the legs. These legs are so fast to make. I would just go ahead and make all 14 of them. But if you're tight on time, you could just make 2. Now, time for the main body parts. You're going to get the hang of this really fast, and you'll just like boom, boom, boom these out. Again, if you are feeling wild and crazy, you could make all 7 sets of these body parts. Make them for all 7 sets of your chickens. That's a lot to do this month though. That's maybe, I don't know, if you're having like a really good week. But take your fabric from chicken 1 that was cut out of those fat quarters. And again, you're going to draw diagonal lines on the background pieces indicated, sew on the line, trim off the corner, press as indicated. And again, you're going to want to pay attention to the left facing and right facing ones you're going to make. You're going to make 1 left facing and 1 right facing for each chicken, because this is the chicken breast. So you got 1 chicken breast right facing, 1 chicken breast left facing. You're going to make the rear of the chicken units. You're going to make the neck and tail units using these same methods. Draw a line, sew on the line, cut off the triangle, flip it down and iron it. The neck and the back, the neck and the tail are identical, so you don't have to, you just make 2 of these and they work for both the right and left facing chickens. So that's really nice. All right, once you're done making all of those, there are instructions for sewing them all together. Skip this for now. I'm going to flip, boom, and it'll be time to use the scraps from the fat quarters to make this interior quilt block. I chose the simplest block from all of the chickens to be month 1 because we have a lot of stuff going on. We do not need to be doing something super complex. So we're going to make this cute little heart block. Again, we're doing stitch and flip. We're going to draw a line. We're going to, first of all, we're going to cut this from the chicken fabric, cut this from our quilt block fabric, and then do stitch and flip for the corners, stitch and flip for the bottom, sew it together. Really fast, really easy. You will be a master at stitch and flip by the time you get to this point. And then once you've made 2 of these blocks, then you'll come back to this page. Chickens 1 and 2 have a comb 1 option, and you're going to lay all the pieces out like that. I want you to lay everything out and make sure everything's where it needs to be, everything's facing the way it needs to be. You're going to use, there were some extra 1.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles. You're going to use those right now and sew them onto the top and bottom of your quilt block. And then you'll sew on the rear unit, press, sew the neck and tail unit on, press, sew the breast unit on, sew the beak and body unit on, then the leg and the comb. You don't have to remember all that. It is all written here. So just look at this, refer back to this, and that's it. You are done. Thank you so much. To review, we're going to cut fabric, we're going to label all our fabric pieces, and then sew the combs, the beaks, the legs, body parts, quilt block. It's a lot, but it's totally doable. And I'm excited that you're here with me and that you want to make this. All right, thanks again for joining me. I'll see you next month.